In the headlines, outrage and grief sweep across America. Conservative activist and Trump ally Charlie Kirk shot and killed during a campus event in Utah. Federal agents confirm a suspect is now in custody. Shockwaves across the Middle East as Israel's strike in Doha draws widespread international condemnation, with world leaders accusing Tel Aviv of violating Qatar's sovereignty. Another massive airstrike flattens Gaza's high-rise, leaving civilians injured and dozens displaced as the violence shows no sign of easing. In the Philippines, Congressman Paolo Duterte insists there are no ghost projects in Davao. Duterte says he is ready to face an investigation into the 51 billion peso public works budget under his watch. A breakthrough in stalled negotiations as Iran and the International Atomic Energy Agency sign a deal to resume long-delayed inspections of nuclear facilities. In Indonesia, a deadly missiles epidemic spreads in East Java, overwhelming hospitals and putting young lives in serious danger. And Paris erupts in chaos as demonstrators march against President Emmanuel Macron's policies. Clashes break out at Republic Square amid growing anger over austerity measures. I'm Fatima Nawzil. Newsline World starts now. Outrage and grief are sweeping across the country after the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, a close ally of former President Donald Trump. Kirk was shot and killed during a campus event in Utah. Federal agents say a suspect is in custody while Utah's governor is calling the killing a political assassination. Almar Farsuelo files this story.
It happened Wednesday, local time, at Utah Valley University. Videos posted to social media show Kirk speaking under a white tent. Suddenly, a single shot rings out. Panic followed, with hundreds of spectators fleeing in chaos. Authorities say the shooter fired from a rooftop some distance away. Dressed in dark clothing, the suspect managed to target Kirk from above as he answered questions from the crowd. Kirk's private security rushed him to a hospital, but he passed away. Utah authorities said Kirk was killed with a single shot. Trump, who also announced Kirk's death, expressed his condolences to his family. Utah Governor Spencer Cox called Kirk's death a political assassination and warned that the death penalty is still legal in Utah. Cox also vowed that the state will treat the case with the full force of the law.
I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. I pray that those who hated what Charlie Kirk stood for will put down their social media and their pens and pray for his family, and that all of us will try to find a way to stop hating our fellow Americans.
Utah Valley University's police chief said there were 6 officers on duty for the event, which drew around 3,000 people. Later, the FBI confirmed a suspect was arrested. Director Cash Patel posted the announcement on social media. Kirk's death adds to growing fears of political violence in the United States, a danger that in recent years has touched both parties. Charlie Kirk had become a household name among conservatives as the co-founder of Turning Point USA. The 31-year-old had more than 20 million followers across social media and was widely recognized for his influence on youth political activism in the United States. He was a staunch supporter and ally of Donald Trump, credited with mobilizing younger voters and spreading the party's populist message through social media. Later, Trump delivered a recorded message saying that he is filled with grief and anger and called Kirk's death an heinous assassination.
Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree. I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. May God bless his memory, may God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America.
Vigils are being organized in Washington, D.C. and across the country to remember Kirk. The president himself ordered U.S. flags nationwide flown at half-staff through Sunday in Kirk's honor. Reporting for Newsline World, Almar Forsualo, SMNI News.
It's a swift political reset in Paris just after Prime Minister François Bayrou was ousted in Parliament. President Macron topped 39-year-old Sébastien Lecornu to take his place. Lecornu is set to become France's youngest prime minister in decades. A close ally of Emmanuel Macron, has been the country's defense minister for the past 3 years. The appointment comes one day after Prime Minister François Bayrou and his cabinet were forced out by lawmakers who rejected Macron's plan to cut public spending. Bayrou handed in his resignation Tuesday morning. The Élysée Palace says Lecornu will be tasked with consulting political parties to build consensus for key decisions in the months ahead. The official handover of power is scheduled for Wednesday local time at Matignon, the Prime Minister's office in Paris. But the reaction has been swift. Former Prime Minister Gabriel Attal, now leading Macron's coalition in Parliament, voiced support on social media platform X, calling the nomination in the public interest. But far-right leader Marine Le Pen said Macron is playing his last card of Macronism. Meanwhile, a deadly missiles outbreak is putting children at serious risk in Indonesia. Health officials in East Java are rushing to contain the epidemic as hospitals struggle to keep up with new cases. Anissa de Guzman reports.
In Sumeneb, Regency, East Java, hospital wards are filling fast. Dozens of children are now being treated for measles, part of a deadly outbreak that's spreading rapidly across the region. Young patients lying in beds, some visibly weak, as healthcare workers move through crowded rooms preparing vaccines and administering immunizations. One of them is Fatima, whose child was admitted after days of fever.
Sekolah itu batuk, sore panas, sedikit-sedikit terus sampai malam. Nggak mau makan, kemarin langsung bawa sini, langsung ngamar sini. Terus orang yang soalnya nggak mau makan itu.
The numbers keep climbing. In just one day, 10 more children were admitted, pushing the total under treatment to 79. Overall, suspected cases have now climbed past 2,500. Patients are being treated in at least 4 major hospitals and multiple community health centers. Since officials declared the outbreak in late August, vaccination drives have reached nearly 70% of children at risk. More than 47,000 sessions have already been carried out, with the rest planned in the coming days. But the fight is far from over. Since January, the virus has claimed at least 20 young lives in East Java. A reminder that measles, though preventable, remains deadly when vaccination rates fall short. I'm Anissa de Guzman, your global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Tensions boiled over in Paris on Wednesday night as anti-government demonstrators marched under the banner "Block Everything." Republic Square turned into the epicenter of unrest, with protesters scaling the monument to the Republic, defacing it with spray paint and waving Palestinian flags. Smoke flares filled the air as police stood guard across the square. The unrest followed the ouster of Prime Minister François Bayrou in a confidence vote over austerity plans and the swift appointment of Macron ally Sébastien Lecornu as his replacement. Protesters accused Macron of ignoring public anger over cuts to services and rising economic pressure.
The political situation is blocked, and I don't think there's much things he can do, because we clearly see that he will not change anything politically. Like, it's liberal views and austerity. Like, all they do is just saying like, we want cuts in the public services.
We are really exhausted by this power, and we are kind of the people with privilege, and we can go in the streets and we can like claim that he has to go for all the people that cannot, because of the police forces that are really like tough with the people.
Authorities had warned of mass disruption and deployed 80,000 police nationwide. In Paris alone, 6,000 officers were on duty, with dozens of arrests made across the country. Up next, in the Philippines, Congressman Paolo Duterte insists there are no ghost projects in Davao. Duterte says he is ready to face any investigation into the 51 billion peso public works budget under his watch. A breakthrough in stalled negotiations as Iran and the International Atomic Energy Agency sign a deal to resume long-delayed inspections of nuclear facilities. Newsline World will be back after the break.
How to receive God's favor. So, for us, in order to receive the favor of God, we must avoid a holier than thou attitude. Importante sa harap ng ating Panginoon na tayo ay may kababaan ng loob, na wag nating tingnan at mapagmataas tayo sa ating mga sarili. Isaiah chapter 57 verse 15. For thus saith the high and lofty one that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble and to revive the heart of the contrite ones. Bilang mga anak ng Diyos na tunay, upang tayo ay kasihan ng kanyang pabor, kailangan tayo ay hindi lamang mapagpakumbaba, kundi tayo ay mapagpatawad. You want to seek the favor of God? Be forgiving in your heart, so that when you pray and lift up holy hands to heaven, the Lord of heaven will also forgive your trespasses. May pabor ka na sa Diyos pagka ikaw ay dumadalangin na pinatawad mo ang kasalanan ng iba. In order to receive the favor of God, we must be humble. We must be forgiving. And we should not judge. And then, if you want to have favor with God, you must love God and obey God's words at all times. Ang aklat na ito ng kautusan ay huwag mahihiwalay sa iyong bibig, kundi iyong pagbubulayan araw at gabi upang iyong masunod na gawin ang ayon sa lahat ng nakasulat dito, sapagkat kung magkagayoy, iyong pagiginhawain ang iyong lakad, at kung magkagayoy, magtatamo ka ng mabuting kawakasan. Magkakaroon ka ng pabor sa harap ng ating Panginoon. Mahalin ang kanyang mga banal na salita, ipamuhay ang kanyang banal na salita, sundin ang kanyang banal na salita, huwag hihiwalay ang kanyang banal na salita sa ating bibig araw at gabi. Pagbubulayan natin yan araw at gabi. Bago kayo magtrabaho sa umaga, pagkagising ninyo, kumuha muna kayo ng mga salita ng Diyos. Magbasa kayo, mag-devotional kayo, basahin ang salita ng Diyos, mahalin ang salita ng Diyos. Huwag ilagay ang Biblia at patungan ng anumang klaseng libro. Kailangan yan ay nasa ibabaw ng lahat ng libro.
In the Philippines, former presidential son and Davao City Representative Paolo Duterte is open to any investigation on the corruption issue. This comes after a House committee confirmed his district received billions in public works funding while his father, Rodrigo Duterte, was president. MJ Mondihar reports.
It seemed like the trip was headed to Davao for the House Infrastructure Committee or Infracom, which is now investigating the corruption in flood control. That was the comment of this social media influencer on the course of the House investigation. The perceived ending, the Dutertes will be blamed for the anomaly, even if the recent severe flooding happened not in Davao but in Metro Manila, in Luzon and other provinces. In the Infracom hearing, it was confirmed that from the years 2020 to 2022, Davao City 1st District under Congressman Paolo Duterte received a total of 51 billion budget. During those years, his father, Rodrigo Duterte, was the president. Congressman Duterte stood firm that he is hiding nothing and is ready to face any investigation, and all funds were allocated to projects that are visible, constructed, and used by the people. The congressman lashed out at the House leadership, insisting that the Duterte family is being used as a scapegoat for the flood control anomaly. Duterte further stressed that the House leadership itself should be investigated, not their family, who he said has nothing to do with the current government's transactions. Earlier, the House leadership denied involvement into the flood control anomaly. At the same hearing, September 9, a contractor compared the Duterte and Marcos administrations. Curly Discaya testified that under the Duterte government, no one solicited bribes from his company.
This only shows, Mr. Discaya, that the revenue that you are generating during the former administration, 2016 to 2022, is bigger than the revenue that you are generating under the current administration. How can you explain this?
Your Honor, wala naman pong nanghihingi sa amin, kaya mapapansin niyo po, ang nakalista lang po dito ay during ito lang po, sa 2022 lang po.
This guy was asked again by the congressman, who could not believe his answer earlier.
Are you saying na yung pagbibigay mo ng pera sa DPWH at sa mga lawmakers happened only during the current administration and did not happen during the previous administration?
Wala pong ganun pong nanghihingi sa amin. Wala po, pero nilalabanan po namin sa tunay na bidding po. Nagpapadyaryo po kami.
In the end, Congressman Duterte called for transparency in the Marcos Jr. administration. According to him, the issue should no longer be replaced with drama, diversion, and accusations against the Dutertes. The truth must be revealed, and those who plundered public funds must be held accountable. For Ganwabal of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNA News.
The National Capital Region Police Office has announced that it is keeping a close watch on groups expected to hold protests on September 12th and 13th at the EDSA Shrine and the People Power Monument. According to Police Major Hazel Asilo, spokesperson of the NCRPO, they have identified several organizations that are already making preparations for the planned protest. She added that coordination continues with local government units and protest organizers to ensure that the gatherings will remain peaceful and organized in accordance with the mandate of the law. The NCRPO has prepared a total of more than 2,000 police officers for the expected protest. Of this number, 950 police personnel will be actually deployed to locations identified as possible protest sites, while 1,300 more will be on standby in various districts and at Camp Bagong Diwa for any immediate needs.
Ang mga lugar po kung saan tayo magdi-deploy ay nakatakda po or ginagawa po natin based po sa threat assessment at historical convergence points ng mga kilos protesta. Kabilang po dito ang Menjola, Batasan, Senado at EDSA Shrine. Mayroon din po tayo yung augmentation na handang i-deploy kung kinakailangan.
A breakthrough in nuclear talks. Iran and United Nations nuclear watchdog have signed a deal to resume inspections. It comes after months of stalled cooperation and growing international concern. Erica Rio for the details.
In Cairo, Iran, in the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, signed a deal to resume inspections. The agreement could ease months of tension over Tehran's nuclear program. Iran's Foreign Minister Syed Abbas Araghchi announced the deal alongside IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi and Egypt's Foreign Minister.
I shall stress that in case of any hostile act against my country, and in the event of reimposition of terminated United Nations Security Council resolutions, Iran will regard these practical steps as terminated.
The IAEA chief called the agreement technical but critical.
What we have concluded, as Foreign Minister Araghchi was just saying, may not be or appear to be grandiose because it's a technical document. It's a document that refers to how we can resume the indispensable inspection work that we have to carry out in Iran in accordance with the Treaty on Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons and the corresponding Safeguards Agreement.
Iran had suspended cooperation back in June after Israeli and U.S. strikes on its nuclear sites in the assassination of several scientists. The agency has been pressing Tehran ever since to reopen access. Last month, senior IAEA officials visited the country for the first time since that suspension. Both sides say the inspections will resume immediately, but Iran warns that any new pressure from the West could once again derail the deal. This is Erica Rio, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Cambodia has officially opened the Techo International Airport, its largest and newest air hub, replacing Phnom Penh International Airport and marking a major step in the country's aviation development. Faith Agustin for the details.
The airport launched commercial operations on September 9, 2025 with the inaugural flight, Air Cambodia's K6611 from Guangzhou, China aboard an Airbus A320. The aircraft was greeted with a ceremonial water cannon salute. Located 20 kilometers south of Phnom Penh, the airport covers 2,600 hectares, making it one of the largest in the world, which is 25 times bigger than Singapore's Changi Airport. Built as a greenfield 4F category airport, it can accommodate the largest passenger aircraft, including the Airbus A380 and Boeing 747. Prime Minister Han Manet said the project reflects Cambodia's drive to modernize its transport infrastructure, noting that the country has been actively expanding and upgrading its international airports to meet growing travel demand and enhance connectivity for travelers. The airport is being developed in 3 phases. Phase 1, which covers over $2 billion, features a main terminal, 32 boarding gates, a 4,000-meter runway, parallel taxiways, and an apron with capacity for 15 million passengers annually. Phase 2 will add a second runway and pier, raising capacity to 30 million, while Phase 3 will introduce a third runway and a satellite terminal, pushing total capacity to 50 million passengers a year. Techo International Airport is managed by Cambodia Airport Investment, a joint venture between the government and Overseas Cambodian Investment Corporation, which holds exclusive rights to finance, build, operate, and own the facility. The airport was officially named in December 2021 by then Prime Minister Hun Sen during a state visit. This is Faith Agustin, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Coming up, shockwaves across the Middle East at Israel's strike in Doha draws widespread international condemnation, with world leaders accusing Tel Aviv of violating Qatar's sovereignty. Another massive airstrike flattens Gaza's high-rise, leaving civilians injured and dozens displaced as the violence shows no sign of easing. Don't go away, Newsline World will be back.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika, at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod, pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakaka-depress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
Children will grow up and bring the joy, the love, the peace, and compassion to the whole world. We only have one planet. We only have one Earth. And I hope that this new generation of children that we have reached out will become millions and billions and bring peace on Earth. Bring peace to humanity.
Another massive Israeli airstrike has flattened a high-rise in Gaza City, injuring civilians and displacing dozens, as violence in the region shows no sign of slowing. Let's hear the latest from Sarah Santos.
In Gaza, Israeli jets struck the Taiba 2 high-rise on Wednesday, reducing the entire building to rubble. Thick plumes of smoke rose over the city as residents fled in panic. Footage shows the tower collapsing and locals running from debris-strewn streets. One child was reportedly injured by shrapnel. The Israel Defense Forces said the building was being used by Hamas and that warnings had been issued to residents of Taiba 2 and nearby areas, including temporary displacement tents. The conflict began on October 7, 2023, when Hamas launched an attack on southern Israel, killing over 1,000 civilians and abducting more than 200. Israel's military response has left tens of thousands of Palestinians dead or injured, according to Gaza's health ministry. This latest strike comes after a week of intense air raids, during which Israel also targeted several other high-rise towers in Gaza City, adding to growing civilian displacement and devastation. It also follows remarks from Israeli Defense Minister Yisrael Katz, who vowed to open the gates of hell on Gaza until Hamas agrees to Israel's conditions for ending the war. The situation remains tense, with both sides showing no signs of de-escalation. Reporting Sarah Santos, SMNI News.
The Philippines is pushing back hard against China's latest move in the West Philippine Sea, the approval of a so-called Wangyan Island National Nature Reserve in Bajo de Masinloc. In a statement, the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, stressed that Bajo de Masinloc has always been an integral part of Philippine territory, under its full sovereignty and jurisdiction. The DFA made clear only the Philippines has the exclusive right to establish protected areas within its lands and waters. The agency confirmed it will file a diplomatic protest calling Beijing's move illegitimate and unlawful, a direct violation of Philippine rights and international law. The Philippines also urged China to respect sovereignty, withdraw the State Council's approval, and comply with the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, the binding 2016 arbitral award, and the 2002 Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea. Manila maintains it will continue to defend its territorial integrity against any attempts to undermine its sovereignty. Latin American leaders used the inauguration of a new police cooperation center in Manaus to warn against possible U.S. military action in Venezuela, stressing that outside intervention threatens the region's sovereignty. This report from Jade Calabroso.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, and Ecuador's Vice President Maria Jose Pinto attended the opening of the Amazon International Police Cooperation Center on Tuesday. The initiative, spearheaded by Brazil, is designed to fight cross-border crime in the Amazon, but leaders quickly shifted focus to U.S. operations in the Caribbean, where a recent strike left 11 dead on a vessel allegedly tied to Venezuela. Petro denounced the attack as a dangerous escalation and said Colombia would not allow its territory to be used in any invasion of its neighbor.
A Colômbia não vai emprestar o seu território para nenhuma ação em país vizinho e nem emprestar nenhum dos seus homens. Como poderíamos permitir uma invasão à Venezuela?
Brazil's President Lula added that South America must resist foreign pressure and strengthen cooperation to solve its own problems.
É a primeira vez na história da Amazônia que tantos atores se reúnem no mesmo espaço físico em torno de um objetivo comum. Não precisamos de intervenções estrangeiras, nem de ameaças à nossa soberania. Somos perfeitamente capazes de ser protagonistas das nossas próprias soluções. As palavras-chave são ação integrada e cooperação.
The U.S. has promised to intensify operations against Venezuelan drug trafficking networks and has offered a $50 million reward for information leading to the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. Washington accuses him of working with organized crime, charges he strongly denies. For now, South American leaders are closing ranks, insisting the region needs dialogue, not bombs. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Jade Calabroso, SMNA News.
4 suspected illegal recruiters and human traffickers were arrested in Rizal, Palawan following a joint anti-illegal recruitment and human trafficking operation conducted by the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW and other government agencies. The suspects were identified as Rajiv Ibrahim Dedik, Romard Amalia Francisco, Ramel Aligno Acojedo, and Ferraida Rosario, all residents of Palawan. According to the DMW, the group allegedly victimized individuals by offering fake jobs as customer service representatives or spammers in Cambodia, Myanmar, and Thailand with promised salaries ranging from $800 to $1,000 per month. However, authorities discovered that the real intent was to deploy the victims to cryptocurrency scam hubs. In the operation, 13 victims were rescued. The suspects are now facing charges of syndicated and large-scale illegal recruitment and promoting trafficking in persons. Authorities continue their investigation to identify other possible individuals involved in the operation. Meanwhile, the Migrant Workers Protection Bureau of the DMW is urging other possible victims to coordinate through their official Facebook page to receive free legal assistance. The DMW also reminded the public, especially those aspiring to work abroad, to only apply through licensed recruitment agencies and to be cautious of too good to be true job offers, which are usually scams. Health workers from Peru's Social Health Insurance, or SALUD, have launched an indefinite nationwide strike accusing government officials of corruption and mismanagement that they say threaten care for millions of insured citizens. More details from Jane Codita.
Thousands of health professionals marched through the streets of Lima on Tuesday, holding banners and chanting against corruption. Demonstrators carried effigies of President Dina Boluarte in prison clothes and mascots dressed as rats, symbolizing what they describe as widespread graft within SALUD. Doctors, nurses, midwives, and other workers joined under the United Health Union's front, blaming authorities for medicine shortages, broken equipment, and outsourcing of services.
Desgraciadamente, la mala atención a los asegurados es por falta de equipamiento, por desabastecimiento de insumos, de materiales médicos y de medicamentos. Y toda esta situación responsables son las autoridades.
Union leaders insist the health system has enough resources but claim corruption prevents funds from being used properly. They vow to continue the strike until reforms are made and conditions improve for both workers and patients.
Esa corrupción tiene una incapacidad de gestión. No hay medicinas, no hay infraestructuras. Terciarizamos los servicios y de verdad el miedo se acabó y salimos a las calles.
The Ministry of Labor has declared the strike inadmissible and urged staff to return to work, warning that more than 12 million insured Peruvians risk losing access to essential health services. But unions say the mobilization will not stop until their demands are addressed. This has been Jane Condita, your global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Up next, shock waves across the Middle East as Israel's strike in Doha draws widespread international condemnation, with world leaders accusing Tel Aviv of violating Qatar's sovereignty. Stay tuned, more news coming up after the break.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubhang sitwasyon. Kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado. 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki. Mahigit 1/3 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala pang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon. Ayon sa schedule ng pasyente, ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina, at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Tensions are spiking in Europe. NATO issued a sharp warning to Russia after Poland reported what it calls an unprecedented violation of its airspace by Russian drones. Now, NATO's new Secretary General says the alliance will defend every inch of its territory. But Russia dismisses the claims as baseless accusations. Franco Baranda files this report.
NATO Chief Mark Rutte messaged to Vladimir Putin, "Stop crossing into Allied skies." That warning from Secretary General Mark Rutte comes after Poland reported 19 separate drone incursions overnight, calling it an unprecedented violation of its airspace.
Stop violating Allied airspace and know that we stand ready, that we are vigilant and that we will defend every inch of NATO territory.
The North Atlantic Council met in Brussels at Poland's request, invoking Article 4 of NATO's founding treaty, a clause that allows any member to call consultations when it believes its security, independence, or territory is under threat. The process doesn't commit NATO to military action, but it does guarantee collective debate and possible joint steps by the alliance. Allies expressed solidarity with Warsaw and condemned what they called Russia's reckless behavior. Rutte stressed the incident was not isolated.
Allies expressed solidarity with Poland and denounced Russia's reckless behavior. A full assessment of the incident is ongoing. What is clear is that the violation last night is not an isolated incident.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk told Parliament this was the closest his country has come to war since World War II. He confirmed 4 drones were shot down by NATO and Polish defenses, and said the aircraft appeared to come from Belarus. Airports were closed across the country. European Union Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas called it the most serious European airspace violation by Russia since the start of the Ukraine conflict. She also suggested it was intentional, not accidental. Meanwhile, As if NATO needs stronger defenses against drones, Rutte replied.
I think what we have seen last night was a very successful reaction by NATO and allies, including, of course, Poland itself, but also the Dutch and the Italians and the Germans, everybody involved. And I'm really impressed. So, of course, we always have to make sure that we are one step ahead. But I think last night showed that we are able to defend every inch of NATO territory, including, of course, its airspace.
Poland's armed forces called the incident an unprecedented violation of its airspace, saying both NATO and Polish air defenses were activated. Airports across the country were shut down. But Moscow is rejecting the allegations. Russia's defense ministry insists no targets were designated inside Poland. Instead, it says overnight strikes focus on western Ukraine, hitting facilities in Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, Khmelnytskyi, and Zhytomyr, linked to tanks, aircraft, and long-range drone production. Meanwhile, Belarus, Russia's close ally, claimed its military actually warned Poland about incoming drones, with Article 4 now formally invoked. NATO allies say they remain on alert. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, Franco Baranda, SMNI News.
In Nepal, the army chief is calling for calm after the prime minister's resignation due to the violent unrest. He's calling on demonstrators to protect public and private property. Meanwhile, Kathmandu's main airport has reopened, with Indian Airlines adding extra flights to help stranded passengers get home. Paul Montibon for the story.
As violent protests continued in Kathmandu following the resignation of Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, Nepal's army chief called on demonstrators to remain calm and safeguard public and private property. The army chief emphasized the protection of national heritage, diplomatic missions, and citizens' safety. He also offered condolences to families of the dead and prayers for the recovery of the injured, stressing the army's commitment to maintaining peace, security, and national unity. The unrest erupted after the government temporarily blocked 26 social media platforms, including Facebook, X, and YouTube, citing non-compliance with new registration rules. Demonstrators stormed parliament grounds, prompting police to use water cannons, tear gas, and live ammunition. Troops were deployed across the city to support law enforcement. At least 22 people have died and dozens were injured in the clashes, with over 100 people, including 28 police officers, receiving treatment. Many protesters helped transport the wounded to hospitals on motorcycles. The government lifted the social media restrictions on Monday night, saying the decision was made to address the demands of Gen Z. India, a neighboring country, expressed concern over the situation, and it is closely monitoring developments. After days of unrest, Nepalese troops were seen patrolling Kathmandu on Wednesday as residents began cleanup efforts after nationwide protests that left widespread destruction. Meanwhile, flights between India and Nepal resumed Thursday after Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu reopened following a one-day closure due to civil unrest. Air India, Indigo, Air India Express, and SpiceJet had cancelled services earlier this week as Nepal imposed curfews and restrictions after Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigned amid widespread anti-government protests. Civil Aviation Minister K. Ramohan Naidu said extra flights were being operated to bring home passengers stranded in Kathmandu. Air India confirmed special flights from Delhi on Wednesday and Thursday, while regular scheduled services will resume from Thursday. Indigo also announced additional flights alongside its normal schedule. Air India Express and SpiceJet assured passengers affected by cancellations that they could reschedule flights or receive full refunds. The airlines said operations beyond Thursday would continue as planned. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
International backlash is growing tonight after Israeli airstrikes hit the Qatari capital of Doha. The Israeli military says the strike targeted senior Hamas leaders, but Qatar and several world powers are condemning the attack as a violation of sovereignty. Let's hear the latest from MJ Mondihar.
Explosions rocked Doha Tuesday evening, sending smoke into the night sky. The Qatari Foreign Ministry denounced the strike as cowardly, saying it killed 5 Hamas members, the son of a senior leader, and a Qatari security officer. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the operation was in direct response to recent deadly attacks in Jerusalem and Gaza, insisting it was a precise strike against Hamas leadership.
الدبلوماسية القطرية لم تبنى على تصرفات دولة مثل إسرائيل أو يعني طرف على آخر. الدبلوماسية القطرية بنيت على أساس الاستقرار في المنطقة، والاستقرار في المنطقة نراه لن يتحقق إلا بحلول دبلوماسية وبعمل دبلوماسي مكثف، ولن يحقق من خلال الحروب والصراعات.
Despite the attack, Qatar's Prime Minister reaffirmed the country's role as a mediator in the Gaza conflict, vowing that nothing will deter Doha from pursuing peace. Meanwhile, condemnation poured in from across the Middle East, Egypt, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Iran all criticized Israel for striking the Qatari capital. In Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Li Jian said Israel's actions violated Qatar's sovereignty and risked dangerous escalation.
武力换不来中东和平，对话谈判才是根本出路。当前加沙冲突延宕已近2年，中方强烈呼吁有关各方，特别是以色列，为平息战火、重启谈判多做积极努力，而不是相反。
U.S. President Donald Trump, for his part, also expressed rare public displeasure with Israel, saying the Doha operation was badly handled.
Well, I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled about it. I don't have to do that. I'm not thrilled about the whole situation. It's not a good situation. But I will say this: we want the hostages back, but we are not thrilled about the way that went down today.
He added the strike risks complicating ceasefire talks in Gaza. With Qatar vowing to press on with mediation despite the attack, the question now is whether diplomacy can hold steady in the face of escalating conflict. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
The U.S. military has taken another big step in space security with help from SpaceX. The space tech company has launched 21 new satellites for the Army as part of a Pentagon program to build a global encrypted communications network in space. Daniela Paulite reports.
A Falcon 9 rocket blasted off Wednesday morning local time from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The satellites are part of what's called the Tranche 1 transport layer, a constellation that will eventually grow to 126 satellites in low Earth orbit. The goal is to give American troops fast and secure communications worldwide. The mission was managed by the Space Development Agency, which oversees rapid and low-cost defense space projects, and the satellites. Built by York Space Systems, with Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman also involved. Officials say more launches are planned every 2 years to keep the system updated. Just over 8 minutes after liftoff, the Falcon 9 booster returned safely to the drone ship Of Course I Still Love You, marking its 6th successful flight. Officials say new batches of satellites will be launched every 2 years to keep the system updated and secure. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Daniela Paulita, SMNI News.
In sports, Newcastle United fans are furious after Champions League tickets for their Barcelona match went to a school in Scotland, nearly 200 miles away, and South African sprinter Akani Simbine says his legacy isn't just about medals, but making an impact beyond the track. Carlo de la Peña tells us more.
In England, Newcastle United fans are fuming after learning dozens of tickets for their Champions League showdown with Barcelona didn't go to locals, but to a school in Dundee, nearly 200 miles away from St. James Park. Reports say the High School of Dundee bought 45 tickets for the September 18th game through an approved provider. That angered fans, with more than 110,000 people stuck in an online queue when tickets went on sale. Newcastle United clarified that the club did not directly supply the tickets, while the Dundee school explained the deal was part of a group package. The same school also secured tickets for Newcastle's Champions League match against AC Milan last year. With demand for tickets at record levels, the club is now studying options to either expand St. James Park or build a new stadium to accommodate more supporters. At 31 years old, South African sprinter Akani Simbine has built a career that has consistently placed him among the world's best. He has finished inside the top 5 in the 100 meters at the last 4 major championships, including the Rio, Tokyo, and Paris Olympics, but has often fallen just short of the medal podium. Still, Simbine refuses to be defined by critics who call him the nearly man of sprinting. For him, the story is bigger than medals. He became the first South African to reach an Olympic 100-meter final, breaking barriers for African sprinters, and continues to inspire the next generation. Earlier this year, he set another milestone by becoming the only athlete in history to run under 10 seconds in the 100 meters for 11 consecutive years, surpassing Usain Bolt's record. Simbine says he now finds success not only in competition, but also in his role as a mentor and a symbol of possibility for young African athletes. Simbine says he now finds fulfillment not only on the track, but as a mentor and a role model. And as he prepares for the World Championships in Tokyo, his pursuit is clear. It's not just about medals, it's about leaving a legacy far beyond the finish line. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Carlo de la Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
For today's showbiz update, international films are now competing for the upcoming 90th Academy Awards, and France has selected its top 5 films to vie for the Best International Feature Film category. Meanwhile, after her last tour in 2019, pop superstar Ariana Grande is set to return to the stage with her highly anticipated Eternal Sunshine Tour, promising fans a dazzling live experience. More on ticket sales and tour dates from Stella Maris.
As the countdown to the 98th Academy Awards intensifies, international filmmakers are stepping into the spotlight, vying for a chance to claim cinema's highest honor. On Wednesday, France unveiled its shortlist of 5 exceptional films competing for the coveted Best International Feature Film submission. The 5 films vying for France's official Oscar submission are Novel Vague, directed by Richard Linklater, which features French dialogue. It Was Just an Accident, an Iranian film by Jafar Panahi, co-produced with France. A Private Life, directed by Rebecca Zlotowski, starring Jodie Foster. The Little Sister, directed by Hafsia Herzi. And Arco, an animated feature by Hugo Bienvenu, featuring the voice of Natalie Portman. The final selection will be announced on September 18, determining which film will represent France in the Best International Feature Film category at the 2026 Oscars. The chosen film will join a competitive field of international contenders, with the final nominations set to be revealed in January 2026. As the selection process unfolds, all eyes will be on France's pick, which has the potential to make a significant impact on the global award stage. Meanwhile, the Philippines has chosen Love Diaz's film, Magellan, as the country's official entry for the Oscars Best International Feature Film category. This was announced during the opening ceremony of the Philippine Film Industry Month celebrations. After her major role in the Wicked movies and releasing her latest album Eternal Sunshine, finally the pop icon Ariana Grande has officially announced her Eternal Sunshine Tour for next year, kicking off on June 6, 2026 in Oakland, California, and wrapping up with a London residency at the O2 Arena on August 23, 2026. The tour features 36 dates across North America and the UK. Fans can expect a dynamic set list, including hits from her 2024 album Eternal Sunshine. The tour promises high-energy performances, stunning choreography, cinematic visuals, and of course, fans don't want to miss her power vocals. Ariana Grande took to Instagram to unveil the official tour dates for several cities across the US and the UK, sending fans into a frenzy of anticipation. Tickets went on pre-sale September 9, 2025, with general sales which began on September 10. And due to high demand, additional shows have been added in cities like Los Angeles, Brooklyn, and Chicago. Brooklyn's Barclays Center alone will host 5 shows in July. As the Eternal Sunshine Tour dates are officially revealed, fans are buzzing with excitement over the pop icon's biggest stage comeback yet. And that's for today's Showbiz Update. This is Stella Maris, your global citizen correspondent, bringing you the latest entertainment news for Newsline World.
And before we end, may be inspired with the words of the song. There's always victory waiting for me in every battle I go through. And as we keep track of the countdown, there's only 105 days left to go before Christmas. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God in my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Fatima Nawzil. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.